my gosh, I think I already did it. I'm sorry.
Oh, we're live.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, there we go then. Hey, travelers. Mag and Memom here on day 338 of our trip around the United States. This is it. We're done. As you can see, the bags are packed. First thing in the morning, we are going to Japan. By we, I mean Ai-chan and I. And we are going to be going on the next part of our adventure from there after we have some time with Miss Mag, the kids, to get settled down and get ready for our next step. Before we close out the series, I'm very excited to be able to host this YouTube live session with Memom. Not my mom, right?
No, let's get that clear. I'm not his mom. I'm old enough to be his mom, but I am as proud as if he was my son. I'm very proud of what he's accomplished this last year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've known Memom right from the beginning since I had started geocaching. We found our first geocache in Bahrain. I came back, logged it, saw a smiley face on the map, decided I wanted to go get more of those. Went out to an event. The very first person that I met in the community was Memom. And she introduced me to a lot of geocachers, and well, you can see where we got from there, can't you? I normally like to keep these live sessions at an hour under, and I'm still aiming for an hour, but I'm going to tell you right now, we've got a lot to cover and a lot I want to talk about, and we're going to go over. So grab some popcorn, hang out, relax, because we're going to be here for a minute, and I hope that we'll be able to entertain you and maybe not get things kicked off a little too early next time. So Memom joined us twice on this trip. Which parts of this trip were you involved in?
Did part of New York with you. Did not complete New York, but did the gerbil cache. So I was happy about getting New Jersey's oldest. And then I came out here in February and did part of California with you.
Right here in Los Angeles is where we had met up back in February. So now in June, ending this series, it's only fitting that we have come right back around to where we met last time. And Ai-chan even managed to forgive her from our last journey. If you may remember, the very first day we met up with Memom here in Los Angeles, we went out to Catalina Island, where it was raining all day. What did you think about that hike?
It is what it was.
It is what it is. That was the phrase of the day. And Ai-chan really didn't like either one of us. She wouldn't look at us, and she was trying to escape and pretty much go with anybody else that might pick her up and take her. Again, she's here, she's good now, but man, that was a day to remember.
Yes, it was.
So we have covered on this trip 34 states in there.
Not we, he.
So that royal we is usually referring to Ai-chan.
Yes.
34 states. We managed to give you coverage of 33 of those 34. The only one that unfortunately we did not manage to get video coverage of was Colorado. And that's because in April, Ai-chan was not feeling well and we weren't able to shoot footage, edit videos, or do any of that. But thankfully, she recovered in her health, came back around, and is in as good a shape as you could ever expect a 16-year-old dog to be. She's a great dog, isn't she?
She is.
And I would like to give you her statistics because I am going to prove that she was the most traveled dog in the United States, but I can't do that tonight either because also in April, geocaching.com went through some updates and CGO had to reintegrate. And one of the things that happened to those reintegration was her travel bug got knocked out of auto logging. So we have 5 states in the Pacific Northwest that have no statistics for her, and we will get that data out, but it won't be today. I want to take you guys through some of the other really interesting stats that we've put together about this trip that we've done this year. In the 337 days that we were on the road, a user pointed out we still have our name tags on.
I can't read that, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. So we're still wearing our name tags. We attended an event earlier in the day with UDAC hosting. We went to a car museum, and GSM ×2, a local geocacher in the area here in LA, he makes name tags for, I want to guess all the events, but certainly all the events I've attended. So if you put your will attend log, you get one of these awesome name tags, and there was no way I was going to take this thing off. I'm very proud that they hosted what was my final geocache of my 414-day streak was the closing event hosted by UDAC right here in Los Angeles. So thank you for that, and GSM ×2, thank you for these name tags. Our first day of this trip was the 1st of June, and the last day, our first day of this trip was the 1st of July in 23, and the last day of this trip was the 1st of June this year. We finished 14 days ahead of our planned schedule. A lot of that is because we cut our hikes and other stuff once Aichen wasn't feeling well. And so we put a lot of time back on our calendar there. Over that time, we managed to make 14 first to finds, 2 in Maine, 1 in Nebraska, 1 in Oklahoma, 1 in Washington, 1 in California, and 8 in Texas. 8 first to finds while we were there exploring the 254 counties in Texas. Every first to find was a victory.
Absolutely.
We also covered 3 crossings into Mexico. Each one was uniquely different. We came in from Nuevo Laredo, and I'll be honest with you, that's a pretty scary place to cross into Mexico. If you want the geocache on the other side of the border there, you better buckle up and be ready for a ride. The second crossing was in right out of Big Bend National Park. We came in through Boquillos del Carmen, this little mountain village, and it was as completely opposite as it could have been from the crossing in Nuevo Laredo. We took a boat ride across the river. From there, you have donkey rides. Aichen told me right away that wasn't happening. So we walked a mile into town, had a great lunch, enjoyed getting to know the locals for a little bit, and then back into Big Bend. And the last one, of course, was with the Yuma Swag Mega event. We went in with a group of geocachers that were hosting the event from Canada. So we had a very fun group dynamic the whole time that we were walking around. And Los Algodones is also known as the Molar City. There were over 200 dentists' offices. And what I discovered along the way is anytime I was with somebody, Memomls, Skeletor 10, Sanferic, or the event attendees, it was just more fun. I think the videos were more fun. I think the day was more fun. And I hope that you guys enjoyed all that footage too, because Memom, you made some of those videos really fun. That very first intro from Catalina Island, you remember that one, right?
I fell.
But that's right in keeping with Memom's character. And we wanted to make sure we wanted to make sure to show that to you because it adds to the fun dynamic. And that's what we were trying to do. Add a little fun to it, right, Aichen? Yeah, she's tired. It's been a long day. That event was a lot for her, but she's a pretty happy camper right now. When we began this trip, we had already had 1,596 counties complete through the U.S. Those were scattered through all those 48 states. During this trip, we found geocaches in another 1,522 counties. So we have managed to average about 4.5 new counties, not the ones we're passing through that we already had, new counties every single day. And if you guys aren't familiar with that county map, what's the big difference between East Coast and West Coast counties?
Oh, East Coast, you go about 10 minutes and you're in another county. West Coast, you got to go an hour to get to another county. Big difference.
Smaller ones too.
Huh?
Those are the smaller ones.
Yeah, big difference.
So that average, if we cut those numbers and we talked about what we were averaging on the East Coast, like when we were with Memom, vice when we were finishing in California, that those numbers would vary greatly from there. The finds that we had were 10,000 on the button. We didn't quite plan that from the beginning, but once we got close enough that I was able to calculate the milestones, I knew I could manage those last few days to hit just on the mark we wanted. Amazingly, though, most of those weren't even traditional. We only found about 5,500 traditionals. That was just slightly over half of our finds all around. Another 12% was virtuals. We found 179, no, we found almost 1,200 virtuals for that 12%. We found nearly 1,000 mystery caches, going just below 10% there. And we also had quite a few earth caches too, coming in at 7.6%. Everything else combined up to there to make smaller numbers, but it was those adventure labs that really made the difference in A, that find count coming up to where 10,000 was, and B, me not being able to give you exactly accurate statistics because nothing that I use on auto-compiling works for adventure labs. Go figure, right?
Oh, cool.
And they also break them down a little weird on the geocaching website. So we kind of guessed that that's right about 1,300 or so. During the trip, we stayed in hotels a total of 93 nights in total out of 337 days on the road. We stayed not in hotels, indoors. That means with friends, family, hotels, and of that, that's about a quarter of the trip. A lot of those were with our friends. When Memom, Skeletor 10, they came in, All of us sleeping in the car? No, that's not a good idea, is it?
No.
So we got hotel rooms. When it was just Aichan and I, we stayed in hotel rooms 26 times in total, and 19 of those were after she got sick, which means that through that entire 8-month period leading up to that, we spent 7 nights in hotel rooms by ourselves. And even those, more for the dog than not. She's spoiled. I hope you guys understand that by now. I also wanted to mention, if you want to send any questions our way, we will get to Q&A here, so feel free to throw them in the chat. What I'm going to do is when we get to that portion, we'll scroll back up and we'll start running through the questions you have. So feel free to shoot them our way as we go through this. We have several different segments I want to walk through, and the Q&As just a little further down the line for us yet. We also managed to attend 19 events, which is phenomenal. Several of those were right here in LA.
Yeah.
And we're not even counting the one we did today because we cut off all these statistics on June 1st when we finished Golden State DeLorme Challenge. Of those events, that was covering 8 different states, and a lot of those were either right here in LA and Texas. Go figure. We ended up doing a lot in Texas. That's because the Texas Geocaching Association, the president, Brian, had reached out to me and knew that I was coming in because he'd seen some of my logs, and he made the coordination effort. If you're coming through, I can work with the reps, we can get you some dates. And so I had a very strict timeline, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And he worked with me and the other reps, and it was just amazing what they managed to put together in short notice to be able to get those events hosted at the right times, and we really enjoyed it. California was great with GSM ×2 hosting in on our event then, and now UDAC hosting our closing event for it. And we also got surprised coming into Oklahoma. Tattoo Barbie reached out to us, and she did the same thing. She asked if she could host an event, worked with our schedule, and there we were. And let's not leave out, don't miss Phoenix, hosted by Just Finding Our Way. We met him at the Yuma Swag Mega event, and he was pretty happy with what we were doing. He really wanted to bring the community out to meet Aichan and me, since I was going to be there with her, and he hosted the event for us when we came through town. It was phenomenal. So if there's other statistics you guys might be interested in, I'd be happy to communicate those as well. So if you shoot those in, if I have them, I might. And if not, I'll add them into the notes. Also, if you check the notes for this live video, I've added in links to all of the podcasts and publications that have featured this journey along the way. So if you're interested in some of the other podcasts that we've been on, like Geocache Talk, and there's several on there. Feel free to get those in, link up, listen to the sound. Several of them have a video feed feature too. So there's a lot more to have out there. But don't do that now. Let's go ahead and finish this live session. We'll circle around to that one. This journey wouldn't be possible without all the people that we've met along the way. And I know that you've seen Aichan and I on camera most days. You've seen our friends when they've come to join us. But there's been a lot of people behind the scene that have helped to make this easier, and in some cases, to make it possible at all. And I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to the many people that have contributed to this journey along the way. So I'm going to just run through this, and before I even start, if I miss anybody, because there were a lot of people out there who provided something for this, I am not slighting anybody in the slightest. You are thanked, and I am very grateful for each and every single one of you. So I made a list because I really wanted to try and make sure we got them all. LF Librarian out of Washington sent us the Washington DeLorme coin when we finished the challenge there.
Wow.
It was a beautiful coin too. And I'd love to show it to you, but as you can see, bags are packed, had decisions to make, timeline. We can't do show and tell for that. Just Finding Our Way for hosting the donut event in Phoenix, and he was right there for phone a friend when I need it. And yes, that cache was still there, and no, I wasn't able to find it. But he confirmed I couldn't find it. So that, thanks for that. Vegas native. He did owner maintenance immediately when we were in Las Vegas. Now, when I say immediately, I was out there on the trails and I DNF'd one cache. And by the time I came back around, he was there with a replacement container in his hand doing owner maintenance.
Wow. So,
I mean, that I've never seen that level of owner maintenance ever in the community. So I think he definitely deserves a shout out. We have Casey Searcher. She is the DeLorme Challenge owner for, unfortunately, the DeLorme edition that I did not do in California. She was fantastic support when it came down to the wire and I encountered problems with the DeLorme, Golden State DeLorme Challenge. She was instrumental in helping me get connected and get where I need to be at the right time. And so a big thanks for that one as well. Earlier on, very early in our journey, we came into Massachusetts, and that is the only county challenge in the country that requires an event to qualify. So you can get all those counties, but if you haven't gotten social with somebody, you still got a ways to go. So we connected with CMAG, specifically for Swans Tea, and they hosted a fantastic event to send us off out of the state. And they gave us an awesome CMAG shirt too. It was their 101st event that they hosted for us coming through the state.
Nice.
And the turnout there was, I mean, it was fantastic. I'd like to believe that CMAG would have come and hit just as hard as the Texas Geocaching Association. But I was only in Massachusetts for a few days. There wasn't a lot of opportunity there.
I was wondering how they got the 2 weekend. You know, that it takes 2 weeks to get an event. You have to do it 2 weeks in
Four
advance.
Swans Tea was all of this coordination. So big shout out to CMAG and specifically Four Swans Tea, but all of CMAG because they really showed up in force for that event. Robbins LV in Lavernia, Texas. We got a first to find at his house, and it wasn't because he set us up for it. It had been sitting there for 4 or 5 days. And it was not just like a walk up and pull the geocache out of the fence post. It was a very elaborately well done geocache that they stood back and him and his sons watched me look for it. And they were laughing
Pressure.
quite a bit. The pressure was on, but I wasn't giving up, not with them watching and knowing that cache was there. And it was a very good geocache. If you're watching and you're near Lavernia, you should definitely check out the one they hit. The drive will not be wasted. Not only that, but they gave us a place to sleep for the night. And that we stayed in a place where we were indoors. It was a little cold that night, so it was really nice. And the next day, we got to go have a great geo adventure out on the trail. These 2 boys were fantastic. We had a great time with them. Geo Killian in Grand Rapids, and I suspect he's watching as well. And I
I
suspect,
know that name.
well, you may. He actually featured in several videos. Not only was he in our Grand Rapids video, but he starred in.
It's the young kid.
Mm-hmm. He did 2 how-to videos. He showed us how to do a letterbox, and he showed us how to do an adventure lab. And you know, I needed that.
You do.
So I was really like videoing him, but at the same time, I see what you're doing. I got it. Okay. And he contacted me out of Grand Rapids. I'd attended an event. He saw that I was in the area, and he asked if he could go geocaching. His dad was phenomenal. He brought him out the next day. We met up. We had a great day geocaching together. And he's one that I think is going to go really far in the future. And I think he's going to have some amazing highs one day. So that's one to watch. FF Skippy. He was one of our very first subscribers. He introduced us to the Geocaching Podcast. He's been a pretty strong commenter on a lot of these videos. And he's also been there whenever we needed a connection or support. So thank you for that. And thank you for getting us onto our very first podcast. I'd never done anything like that before. That was cool. It was definitely the right place to start too. Those guys are great. The Texas Geocaching Association.
Lots of good people there.
You know, I'm gonna have to speed through some of Texas because it's a big part of my list here. But man, they really came to the table and they brought it. Of course, the president, he connected us to the Geocaching Association in the first place. Miss Pat hosted us in Houston. She brought us all around the city, showed us exactly where to park, exactly what we need to do to get the geocaches. Only because she was there tour guiding us did we just nail that target list. Awesome.
Gotta love it.
Thank you, Miss Pat. That was a good one. San Marcos Makes. When we came through San Marcos, he's a Marine as well, and he asked if we could go geocaching together in his town, and it was a great day of hoorah camaraderie all the way around. Atreides in Austin. If you haven't seen it, that's one of the links included in my description on the live video. He hosts a blog called Geocaching While Black. Each day that he goes out and finds geocaches, he talks about his adventure. He includes pictures. He tries to connect our community and show it from his perspective. And he wrote a pretty good blog about Aichon, and he was really nice to include me in as well. So a big shout out there to Atreides. And then, of course, we cannot forget the 2 crazy chicks.
The crazy chicks.
They have been cheerleading in our corner for the entire time since we met them, but especially as we came up to hit our how many subscribers?
1,000.
1,000 subscribers. We did it within 1 year. they were cheerleading in our corner, sharing all our posts, getting out to all the organizations. And I could see immediately the work that they were doing helped me to push that last little bit. And now we've got 1,000 people tuned into Aichan's channel. She has done an amazing job, and they did an amazing job cheerleading in her corner too. Oh, I didn't mean to wake you up, sweetheart. Yeah, I know it's been a long day, huh? In Antonio events, I have a whole list for the two crazy chicks. It goes on for a long time. Let me just say they were awesome. And of course, Indigo Parish. Those of you who may not know, with the Texas Geocaching County Challenge, they're very rigid on no signing early unless there's no signing early. You have to complete all the counties, all 254.
Before you can even go,
Before
you don't
them.
even know where it is.
Oh, I know where it is. They hold it. It's a big Texas size board,
Oh, yeah.
and you sign off on it and the whole thing. And they will not come meet you until you completed all the counties. Unfortunately, my last county, which is on my T-shirt, is Presidio, and that final is located in Austin, which is a very, very long way across Texas. But he was willing to meet me halfway on the I-10.
Oh, that was cool.
That was and for that level of crazy driving, being willing to meet me halfway,
Sure.
cool. I'm in. Yeah. So a big shout out there, because that was days. It was days.
Yeah, yes.
That made a huge difference on our time. Coming into Las Vegas, Boss Man and the Skipper. You saw them in several videos.
So cute.
I know the Boss Man was just too cool. And man, if you guys haven't watched those videos, just listen to the sound of the Boss Man hiking along. He was having a high-o time out there the whole time. So they came out and met us pretty much every free day we had an opportunity in Vegas.
You didn't know them beforehand?
Oh no, we went to high school together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so he's been following the journey.
Okay.
And we came into Las Vegas, and he found out, and we connected, and he immediately was, let's go hit the trails, let's do this. And so we did. And then we came back into Las Vegas with an inextricable fate. And I had my car in for maintenance. I'll drive you. Where are we going? Yeah. He drove us out each of those days. You saw us back on the Roadrunner Tail Trail and out there hiking the desert. Boss Man was allowing the Skipper to drive us out and have a good day together. So seriously, Boss Man, thank you so much. And the Skipper, of course, too. But pass those things along to the Boss Man for us, because we know who really runs that show. And coming around the bend here, we got the Connecticut DeLorme Path Tag from Barefoot. At the 5-Star Veterans Center in Jacksonville, my friend Rich helped to set up the domain for this website, the magplanner.com, where we have all the resources linked in for our trip. And right behind him, Mind Tip Games, who I know is watching. In fact, I just saw a comment pop up from him right now. The magplanner.com is a website that I had wanted to build, and there was no way I could do it. The time on the road every day with my schedule, there's no way. And he stepped up to the plate and knocked that website out of the park. So everything that you see on there now, that was completely him, and muddling through my really bad ideas to start and my really poor communication, he was able to make an amazing product. So a big thanks to him, and his wife is, I think they're married.
They're married.
Okay, yes. Thank you as well to Graphics Maker. She did my logo. So that logo you see pop up at the beginning of every video, that was her work. And it's pretty phenomenal. I really enjoy that. I want to give a big shout out to every single one of the 1,000+ subscribers. You all managed to allow us to hit our goal. That's literally something I couldn't have done without you.
No, you could.
I mean, maybe if I made 1,000 YouTube accounts, but
It's not worth it.
it's way better to have real people doing that.
Yeah.
And last but not least, and the most important person that I want to thank on this entire list, Mrs. Mag.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. First of all, she let me do this. I mean, for any wife to allow her husband to run off and go do what I did, that already takes a very strong person, a level of commitment that I cannot express enough thanks for. So a big shout out to my lovely wife, Mrs. Mag, who tomorrow we're going back to see. We're done. We did it. 337 days on the road. We did it. And as you can tell from that list, we couldn't have done it without the support of a lot of people behind the scenes, 1,000 subscribers, and all of these folks that we just mentioned, they helped to allow us to meet success.
Okay.
So, along the way of this trip, it wouldn't have been possible without the friends we had too, right? And we have a lot of friends out there who have starred in these videos. Thank goodness it's not just me. I mean, already, if I didn't have Aichan, who would, come on. Am I right?
You're right.
So we've had a lot of friends come out and join us on the road, and they have really made the difference to make some amazing videos. And of all of my favorite videos that I have in this series, every single one of them is because of the people that we were involved with. As great as those places were, and there were some amazing places, what really made the memories, Catalina Island, were the people. And so going through the video series here, we've had a lot of people join us, and I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. In Maine, we had Skeletor 10 with us from days 14 to 23. Then Memomls flew in. Into New York, days 24 through 29. She doesn't have much left to go on that state. You are close.
I think I need 3 counties.
Oh, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet next year. We'll see. On day 30 in New York, my friend Chuck pushed me out of an airplane. Thank you for that, Chuck, because you put the air in Marine Air Ground Planner. We needed that element. And without that gentle nudge into the open space, we wouldn't have had it. Coming through Pennsylvania, one of my top 10 favorite videos on day 34 was with Ames. We did the tour through Pittsburgh, and she took over the narrative for it, and she gave you the real Pittsburgh tour from a real Pittsburgh local. That's a great video. It was just great. I mean, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that one.
It was good.
In Ohio, we met up with our friends Supply and Ivo, and we did the tour of Canton. But way better than that, if you watch the end of that video on day 39, Winston does his whole bag of tricks. He's smart. Oh, he's got some tricks in his bag. So go ahead and just click on the end of day 39 and watch Winston work. He is something else. We already made a mention of it, but in Michigan, Geo Killian came out to meet us on day 49. We had a grand tour of Grand Rapids. And then later in Michigan, we met up with True Axe Outdoors. This is also one of my top 10s.
Okay.
What'd we do?
I don't know, but I remember
The oldest geocache in Michigan. Power Island. We went out together and we did Power Island, the oldest geocache in Michigan. And
I remember that now. I'm old. I get it. I remember that.
And you know what? You even are older than the geocache. Well, I can even be forgiven.
Thanks.
No problem. We paddled out to Power Island, and for those of you that don't know, of all the oldest geocaches out there, I'm going to rate Power Island as the hardest. You've got a plan for that one. But if you have a friend like Truax Outdoors, not only does it turn into a plan, but it turns into an epic adventure. So definitely be sure to check out that video of us powering out to Power Island. It's something else.
Yes.
When we came around through Wisconsin, we met up with the Vegas duo on days 70 through 72. We got to explore Oshkosh, and we went to the Eve of Destruction, where somehow we ended up on the track with dirt bikes jumping over our heads. And my mind is still blown to this day that it happened that way. I have no idea what happened, but I'm here, so it couldn't have been that bad, right? Then it got pretty lonely. When we came up through Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois, Iowa, we were on our own. And Mom got worried at that point. You sent me a message.
I did. He was talking to things that weren't real, and I was really worried about him.
A few statues here and there.
Statues, yeah.
Well, the problem wasn't so much that I was talking to them, that I was listening to them. That's where she really got concerned. Thankfully, we got that break we needed. We got into North Dakota and we got into Gilby to start those gadget caches. And my mind was pretty well blown going into it. I was going to stop and just cut the rest of those. And then we came and we met J&S Smith 1082. This is also in one of my top 10 favorite videos. The second part of Gilby specifically, because I was burned out. I couldn't handle that series anymore. And I was going a little stir crazy talking to statues. He gave me just the boost I needed, and we are great friends now. So it's always great to be able to meet new people on the road like that. So a big shout out to him for the mental health boost that I needed at the right time, because it gets really lonely in some of those states. Just saying. Then we circled around into Tennessee, and we stayed with my sister Casey on days 143 through 146. Those were slow days. We needed the break. We'd been on the road for 4 consecutive months. So we got to stay at her house in Tennessee, press a little bit, repack the car, get everything back together. And by the time we had our bellies full of Thanksgiving dinner and ready to hit the road, Sanferic flew in to meet us. That was unplanned. That was a surprise out of the blue. And man, let me tell you, hitting the road with Sanferic totally changed the dynamic for that portion of Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri on days 147 through 154. It made all the difference for those being just great days as they are. Skeletor 10 then came in to join us again in the Texas Panhandle, where we had some of the loneliest days and our first snow day.
In Texas?
In Texas, that's right. On days 160 through 164. And I remember that morning, oh, so clearly, because I woke up and to use the bathroom, and then I hear Skeletor 10 laughing. And not like a ha 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 laugh, more like a ha 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 ha. I was worried. And I walked out of the bathroom and he did the magic reveal. And snow all over the city of Dalhart. And out caching we went on our first snow day. Ai-chan learned a few things that day. Like there was grass underneath the snow. I had to show her. We got down there. But we made it happen. And she learned a lot about the snow that day too. Once we finished up there, we met up with our friend Nails and Heavner on day 166. He's the only friend I met up with who stayed off camera.
Oh.
So just know that when you watch the footage with Heavner, I mention him, and he's right there next to me the entire time we're out there for the day. And I've never pressured anybody to be on camera. I'm so grateful that all of these people I have and am mentioning all wanted to be featured and be a part of the channel because it made it so much better.
I didn't know there was an option.
There wasn't for me, Mom.
Oh.
Most of the other people had an option. When she signed up for the trip, I said, okay, you can come, but. So she agreed, and here we are, because that was also part of the deal, too. She's getting to take my car across the country. Okay, but
Sorry.
She's good. She's probably going to end up in the same spot, normally how this works. Or off camera completely. See you. No. Sweetheart. Ai-chan is 16 years old. The fact that she has made it through this entire trip, nothing shy of amazing to me. And that she's done it as well as she has too. So I've tried to feature her in every single video. And a dirty little secret about this series is it only exists because of Ai-chan. I wanted to be able to show her on camera. For me, for my kids,
yeah,
for Mrs. Mag. I wanted all those videos so that I'll be able to see this amazing dog who's still trying to find where to lay down. So it went around. And if I weren't inspired by just my desire to see her as much as I wanted, this series would never have come into fruition. Finally found a spot. That's going to work. So she's off camera. She's right behind us here. We met up with a bunch of Marines in Texas. They were off camera, but we weren't actually filming when we were with them. But it was great to meet up with our friends from Iraq, from Okinawa, and share stories. And so a big thanks to each one of them, because we also needed that when we came into Texas at that point, right before New Year's. All the electrical in the car had failed, which is already bad by itself. But when you're working out of your car, running internet, running a laptop, electronic equipment, it's detrimental. And so the Marines picked me up and helped me get back on my feet right when I needed it, because that's what they do. Raw devil dogs. In Texas, Once again, we met up with Miss Pat in the Texas Geocaching Association, day 190. We got to do an event there and tour the city. Robbins LV and Lavernia, we got to do our tour cache together, and they're amazing FTF. The two crazy chicks, which I have not been able to harp on enough, but let me tell you, they are awesome reps for the Texas Geocaching Association. If you come through San Antonio, they're the people you want to start with to get connected and really have some fun out there. San Marcos makes on day 197. And then a very big surprise on 198, Atreides met up in Austin, geocaching while black. He has to go find a geocache every single day for his streak. And despite the fact that it was freezing, literally freezing in Austin, he came out and froze right along with us all day. Thank you for that, and I hope you have thawed out, my friend. Indigo Parish meeting us on day 204 so we could sign off on that county challenge final. And then we came into New Mexico and what was I talking about?
Did you go through Roswell?
I'm not sure what happened in New Mexico, but we came into Vegas after that, and you all know the man, Jax the Axe. Oh, ho, ho. He made those videos awesome. He starred in days 212 and 213 in the Valley of Fire in Whitney Mesa. And if you haven't seen it yet, also on my list of top 10 favorites.
My favorite.
What one was it?
I can't say it. The flailing, floppy guy.
She's not the only one that can't say wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube guy. In fact, on this trip, a lot of these people that we met up with, when we saw a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube guy, I tried to get them to do it on camera. Only one geocacher was ever successful with it, and I love his clip. Atreides nailed it. Beside that, it's tough to say wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube guy. And Jax was committed in that video. He wanted to get it right. So we went through it, and he helped me narrate it, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And when his last line of wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube guy came up, it was a mouthful. It was a struggle. And I told him, it's fine. It's good. No problem. No, I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get it. And we must have done 30 takes on that clip, and he nailed it. So that video is always going to be my favorite, not just because the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube guys, but once again, the people. The people make all the difference. Boss Man and the Skipper, several times over in Las Vegas. Memomls. We got to tour through California once again when she came in. And again, I try and forgive her for Kelly Island eventually. In LA, my friend Juan, we met up and we explored the city. Inextricable Fate. When we dropped Memomls off, we met up with Inextricable Fate 2 days later. So the entire time we were in Southern California, every single one of those videos, we had somebody with us, except that one time we were on Pacific Coast Highway between them when things went wrong. And that was my sign. Maybe we should have somebody with us. Boss Man and the Skipper, again, when we came back through Las Vegas, just finding our way when we did our event in Phoenix on 249. Tattoo Barbie hosting her event in Oklahoma on 257. The Weens family in Salt Lake City, day 286 through 287. Stoner and JJ when we were in Emmett, Idaho, finishing our very last county in the state. And our last link up with friends, not counting right now, of course, was an amazing opportunity and surprise. Truex Outdoors once again in Portland. We met up and pretty much just the way when I said, do you want to paddle out to Power Island together? And he said, oh, I'm all in. Do you want to hike up 1,000 feet in elevation, go check out some waterfalls? Oh, I'm all in. We had a great time. What else did we do? Do you remember that?
Oh, I just remember the crab.
Mm-hmm.
The crab was out with them.
Yep, we crashed with him and his son as well.
Yes.
And
you talked to all the female crabs.
They were all females. The males knew better because they were the ones that could come home. The females couldn't. So my theory is, just a theory, the males were standing back and the females were doing a teamwork thing. They're like, I'll go get the chow. I'll bring some back for you. We'll share. Don't go after the bucket. And we're all good. That's my theory.
Smart crabs.
Got to work on that one. We'll see if that's actually true. And if you guys aren't aware, Truex Outdoors has his own channel at Truex Outdoors on YouTube. And he also just hit 1,000, or no, he's been at 1,000. He just was able to monetize his channel, which was a big goal of his. If you haven't seen some of his videos, it's not geocaching, but he loves the outdoors, which is why he was all in for the plans that I had the days I was seeing him, because he loves to get out and hike, go find stones, go fishing, go crabbing, anything that gets him outdoors doing that kind of stuff. He's got great videos on his channel. So by all means, get over there and check out his channel as well. You just might like some of those videos, particularly the one where they hit their limit in 3 hours on crabbing. Where was I that day? I promised with this session that we were going to talk about the great, all these people, the good, the fact that we finished this goal, the bad, which we'll get to, and the ugly. So let's hit on the ugly.
Okay.
I keep my videos positive. I also, in editing time, have a little time to unwind from negative experiences. So by the time I'm ready to publish the video, when I've had a really bad time of something, I've calmed down enough to go ahead and delete that footage and change my narration and give you guys, because I want to spread positivity. The only day that I failed to do that was Kentucky Fried Geocaching. The East.
I remember that one.
Good, thank you. I'm glad you don't remember that video because I was breaking down on camera that day. The entire side of Eastern Kentucky is nothing but winding mountain roads and guardrail caches.
Oh, the guardrail caches. Yeah.
The guardrail caches and the guardrail caches and the guardrail caches.
Yeah.
For like 3 days of guardrail caches. And it looks like I'm power running on these videos. And I'm not. Just thinking about it, I'm a little crazy here. It was just nothing but guardrails. And so I go into a city that time forgot. Most of the geocaches have been found 5 or more years. And I'm trying to find something, and they're all missing and they're all gone. And I finally find a geocache in the town. And where was it hidden?
Guardrail.
In the guardrail. That was the moment. Mag snapped. Yeah, so Kentucky Fried Geocaching, Kentucky Fried Caching. You want to have me a little mental breakdown? That's the video for you. But the ugly side of this was the DeLorme challenges, which I unfortunately do feel the need to be able to discuss because I mean, it was a big goal of mine to do the DeLorme challenges across the country. And I absolutely love the combination of the DeLorme pages with the counties because East Coast, small counties, big pages.
Big pages, yeah.
West Coast, big counties,
Small pages.
so by combining them, you are getting the best of both worlds. You're forced to go explore places that you wouldn't otherwise. Even on the East Coast, a lot of those pages come around the edges of the state that you might otherwise skip, and those bring you to great spots. So I absolutely love pursuing the DeLorme pages. The challenges, though, were another matter altogether. So the county challenges across the country, the COs were very accommodating. First of all, I didn't even reach out to my first cache owner until I had my complete plan. Double checked all pages, all counties verified, timelines, everything, GSAC files, text files, bookmarks, whatever was needed. Then I began my coordination. The county challenge owners were very accommodating. Okay, I see what you're doing. I see your route. We'll work with you. You come sign. Here's coordinates. Here's information. The DeLorme challenge owners, not so much. Don't get me wrong. There's still good COs out there for the DeLorme challenge. And if you don't know, I'm the owner of the Florida DeLorme challenge in Jacksonville, which a very good friend of mine, Memomls, is actually going to help me maintain.
What?
Thank you, Memomls.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, she does.
No, and it's like 5 miles out on a trail. I'm old.
I really appreciate it though. When I hit the Florida DeLorme challenge, I had already done several DeLorme challenges across the country, and I had already experienced this problem time and time again. The owners were very rigid about meeting requirements. While it works okay for people who live in that state, if you're traveling in and they want you to have all of your geocaches complete, and they want you then to produce a bookmark list, and then they want the time to verify that bookmark list. And then after that, then they'll be willing to set up a meeting with you. So I was always frustrated by this early on. And so when I hit the Florida DeLorme challenge, it's at posted coordinates. You can go out there and sign it. Just like every other challenge. Go out there, sign it. If you don't qualify, I'll send you an email. We'll discuss it. And, if it comes to it, I'll delete your log if you're an illegitimate qualifier. But that's how the challenges are normally maintained. The DeLorme challenges, a lot of them are held in the possession of the owner, or they hold the coordinates in their possession. And so I ran into big problems with my coordination for these challenges. And for lack of better words, I solved the puzzles. Oh, I found the coordinates. One way or the other, I had the coordinates for these caches.
I'm not fast.
One way or the other.
Okay.
It was very difficult though, because some of the COs simply wouldn't talk. It's not hidden at posted coordinates, and they won't communicate. They won't answer emails or messages. How are you supposed to find a geocache like that? It's not possible. So a lot of these coordinates I had to get from previous finders because nobody would reply. And I had a process for it. I went out and I emailed everybody, waited a week, I did follow-up email, waited another week, I did an email with a message after 3 times of coordination. Then I began to work through previous finders to, where's this cache owner and what can be done? And then that's where I discovered a lot of problems. In New York, Walking Ed got really mad at me that I found the DeLorme challenge out there.
Ford, yeah.
Oh, he was very upset with me that I completed the challenge. And I when I logged it, the bookmark list was complete, all the P's and Q's were in order. I got my hand slapped for that one. Pennsylvania was also kind of difficult for me. It's maintained by the reviewers, and the account doesn't connect to anything. So when you email the PA reviewers account, nobody answers it. You have to find out through trial and error that they're watching the page and that you find them through it. And so they were willing to give me the page that the final was located on, but they weren't willing to coordinate a meetup time until after I was able to send them verification. This was a state I was already 80% complete with before I started it. And the final over here near Harrisburg was in half the state I didn't even need to go to.
Of course.
So I found it. I got the cache. We made it happen, and that was a very difficult one because, hey, if you want to hide your geocache 7 miles out on a trail, you go for it. That's how geocaching works. And it was 7 miles out in the nearest parking space, and it was too far for me to take Aichon. It was way too far for her to go. So the only other option was to get out there
bright and early, right?
It's dark and early, and I ran a half marathon that day. I got back to the car just after sunrise, and we made it work. But it was unnecessarily difficult when we could have coordinated in the front half and worked it out, and it didn't work that way. Minnesota DeLorme King Boreas is 100% unresponsive to emails. I heard from some of the locals that he's kind of fallen out of the game recently. So the only way to find that challenge geocache is through other people. Not related to him. That's also when I got attacked by yellow jackets. At the Minnesota DeLorme challenge, I sign off on the final. I stamp the log. I go to hide it back in its hiding place, and I disturb the log and find out that's where a nest of brown bees was. And well,
and you lost your Pokemon thing.
I lost my Pokemon bracelet out there that day. I lost a little bit of pride, and I was actually incredibly grateful. You've seen the way I was geared up in those, and all the time before Aichon got sick. That saved me a lot, because they were all over my vest, they were all over my gloves, they were all over my thick pants. So really I had stings on my wrists here, few over here, but mostly I came out way better than I might have otherwise from that. That has nothing to do with the unresponsive owner, but it still comes to the same problem. It coordinating with somebody that won't coordinate, and that's the only way to do it. Iowa, the same thing. The CO Welch, not a word ever. Arizona DeLorme challenge, that's not the CO's fault. It is mine. But you want to talk about interesting experiences. I go up to the top of the mountain where he gave me information where the cache is located. I get up there. I look for an hour. It's getting dark. Can't find it. So I go back down to the first spot I get signal and contact him. And sure enough, 2 days before that, he had gone out and moved the cache 2 miles way up to the top of another mountain. And he put a note on the page that said, I moved the geocache. But I had updated my database 4 days before that. It was a very painful day.
Yes.
But that, I mean, I'm not really going to, that was me. I could have refreshed the data, and I probably should have. Anytime you're looking at heading 2 miles up a mountain, hit the refresh button. Just hit it. And then also the Missouri DeLorme challenge, 100% unresponsive for that. The Kansas DeLorme challenge, 100% unresponsive. I did end up meeting with the CO from help from a previous finder. He holds it at his place of business. And so the first time I showed up there was on a Saturday. And I looked all around the outside of that building before
And you realize,
The gears turned. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
So I made a return trip to Salina, and I met with him. He's a pretty nice guy, but he's disinterested in geocaching now. And so like it was a process to be able to sign off on it. And who are you? And well, emails would be nice. And then we barely made that last one. The final one that really just hit me hard was the Golden State DeLorme Challenge. That one has final coordinates listed as a waypoint on the page. So I've seen other DeLorme and county challenges that say we're not at posted, but they have those. Each time I'd reached out to those COs, they said, "Oh, it's at that waypoint." Great. So I didn't think anything of it when the very last one of my challenges had final waypoints listed on it. By the way, they're still listed on the page, even though I asked her to please remove those coordinates because they're not even in the same city that it's hidden in. She was nice enough after some back and forth, and I was probably not very nice. I was in a bad mood, so it was probably more me than her. But she was nice enough to agree to meet with us and make it the milestone, and that also meant that I was up in my car till 2 a.m. the night before I finished, making a bookmark list to be able to be verified for her, so that she would take it and agree to meet with me. And I didn't know for sure I'd be able to finish with that as my number 35,000 milestone until I was at the front doors of Yosemite National Park, ready to go in, and I'd given up on it. And then okay, let's do it.
sweet.
So then I drive to the wrong city and wait there to find out I got to go another city over. So that was the ugly that I really wanted to discuss. My personal recommendation out there, and I hope that Groundspeak listens to this, is those DeLorme challenges. We'll be much better off at posted coordinates, like the other challenges should be. The COs go out and they put those challenges where they should be, and they manage them like any other challenge. If somebody logs it and they don't qualify, it can be deleted, because that's how we do that.
I think the Florida guy does that.
The Florida guy does do a very good job of
Yes,
that.
excellent.
I really like the way he set up his challenge.
Yes.
And that person that he's got maintaining it now, she's doing such a phenomenal job of taking care of that cache. So a big shout out to her wherever she may be in the world. As you know, we put out a daily video while we're on the road, geocaching 12 hours a day. We still put out a video every day.
Okay. You just gotta stop, because in the back of the car, and Nick would start doing all of his stuff. I'd wake up to go to the bathroom. Nick would still be doing it. I don't know when the man slept, but he did about 4 hours at least every night, unless he forgot to take the stabilizer off of the off of the thing. And he spent 4 hours, and I don't think anybody can appreciate what music he picked for it, what background. I mean, it was a lot of detail that people won't really recognize. Every time he went to a new state, he changed the photos, right?
Yep. Once we got started off, I ask anybody out there that's going to kind of tune in and watch this series for the first time, cut me a little slack on those first 30 days. Whenever you're doing something new, it's okay to not be good at it. Don't be afraid to go out there and do something you've never done before. And I've never edited videos before. I've really never been on camera before. I avoided social media. And so when you try something for the first time, it's probably going to be bad. Chances are it's not going to be good. But the only way to be good is to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep trying. And so don't give up on yourself. If you've got some project you're working on and you feel like, I can't do this, don't give up. Keep trying. You'll get better. So when you watch those first 30 days, just cut Mag a little slack, because I had no idea what I was doing. But I do legitimately feel like they got better over time.
Tons better.
My normal schedule was about 12 hours. I'd wake up every day at 4 a.m. and I would finish whatever I had left over from the daily video. In an ideal setting, I was on the road by 8 that morning. If I went longer, I figured it out. Usually sleep was the one variable that I just cut wherever I needed into. We cached whatever time we got started. Our schedules pretty much ran us 12 hours every single day. And we beat me mom up when she was with us because she was feeling every bit of those 12 hours while we were rolling the road. We finished about 8 p.m. Between 8 and 10, feed the dog, change the car over because the car is in travel mode and it has to change over into bed mode. And then we edit videos until we can't keep our eyes open anymore. By we, I really mean me. Ai-chan's like, good luck with that. I'm passing out. And then we get whatever sleep we have left, rinse, lather, repeat. And we managed to do that for 278 days in a row consecutively. And we didn't have a major delay on these videos. We pushed 1 day lead time on every video for 278 days. The only reason that we changed what we were doing is because the dog got sick and she's my absolute #1 priority. And I could not do everything I was doing and give her the level of care she needed. It was an easy choice for me. And I regret that we didn't get to show Colorado and some other states because of it, but I don't feel like it was the wrong choice for sure.
No. And she has rebounded so well.
The fact that what she has gone through, the stories she could tell, but she can't. So I told him for her. And she has got some stories that any other dog would envy, not to mention those smells. I'm pretty sure she has categorized every single plant across the United States. She is intimately familiar with all of them. And she remembers those smells because she got into a cactus patch one time. And she came out on the trail. She laid down on her side and put all her paws up in the air. And I knew we were in for a ride that night. And she never touched another cactus again because she knew exactly what those smelled like. So learning was occurring on both sides here. Skip all that. I often get asked about the budget. People have wanted to know how much this costs, how much, things like that. I will be including a link to the budget document after this live session so that you guys can click in and look. It's really just raw data, and I combined a lot of the numbers so that you can see it. But I just wanted to hit on some of the points. For our year across the United States, we budget ourselves $50,000 to do this trip. Of that, it was a good $1,000 towards software and subscriptions because we have a lot of services we use. Motion Array, we use Adobe Premiere Pro, Canva now for our thumbnails as well. Not to mention little onesie twosies that go into it because
you got it.
I can't make that music, and so I'm grateful I have the Motion Array account. I think it did exactly what it should. I maintain several phones. It's another $1,600. Insurance on a vehicle, you've got to have that. $2,500. Internet, $1,500. Mobile internet on the road provided by Nomad Internet Services. It works. It works really well. It pulls off of 5G towers, and it's primarily by Verizon. But if Verizon's not available, it will start grabbing other network carriers. And so we were able to upload videos every day. In some of those places, it may have taken 16 hours to upload, but it got there eventually. Gas, that's the big budget. Nearly half, $22,000 for gas. 22. Food, $8,000. Most of that's travel rations type food. I wasn't exactly going ritzy on restaurants and all that.
I know.
That has always been one of me mom's less favorite things about geocaching on the road with Mag. Food is not a priority. Oh, for the dog, oh, absolutely. For Mag, nope. Sustenance, we're moving on. Auto maintenance, $4,000. Incidentals, that little bit of fluff room, another $4,000. A lot of that ended up being parking fees, tolls, those kinds of things. They add up. Those toll roads, man, they get you. Gym membership, $450. I had a gym membership for Active and Fit Direct so that I could access any gym in the network around the country. So that was part of my learning experience. I recommend Planet Fitness Black Card to everybody out there. If you're doing something like this, that's the way to go. Active and Fit Direct is a great way to check out local gyms in your area and find the one that you want. And then you subscribe to that one. What I found out about the gyms across the country is they are very much not staffed.
You go and work out?
No, that's not going to happen.
Then why do you have gym membership?
Well, because I need to shower eventually.
Oh.
Ai-chan gets to a point after about 3 or 4 days where if the dog doesn't want to smell you,
That's the smell she knows too.
It's a time to shower. And actually, when I'd come back from the shower, she'd give me the full sniff down and the look of approval. Like, that's better, Mag. Thanks for maintaining that for me. So if you're traveling across the country, yeah, definitely those Planet Fitness, because during their open hours, all those Planet Fitness locations are staffed, so you can get in there. And that was a serious hindrance for me, because places like a 24-hour fitness, they mean like you can come in 24 hours if you've got a card. If you want to go see somebody in with your Active and Fit Direct, then you've got to come in during about 12 to 3, which are the exact hours that leaving my dog in the car would kill her.
Yeah.
Those were not an option for me. Planet Fitness all the way. And of course, the dog's health plan itself costs about $1,000. Of that, we hit our budget almost right on point. We spent $48,000 out of our $50,000 budget. I mean, we were almost directly on it. We went 8,000 under on gas. We spent a lot less than we thought we would. Some of that was gas apps. Some of that was avoiding California by all means. Whenever I hopped across the border, I filled up somewhere else. And some of that was my estimating too, because I took the national average and I pushed up a little above that based on how much time I was going to spend in more expensive states. Then you have states like Texas where gas is very available. And so that helped a lot because I spent a month there. But we also went 4,000 over on our auto maintenance. So the car still balanced us out in the end, but we hit pretty well close to $50,000 on this trip. All right. I want to take some time, all of our viewers out there, everybody who has tuned in for this live session, and thank each and every single one of you. I'm just going to scroll back up and I want to hit your questions. Feel free to send more down here in the chat and I'll address them once I get down to that, but we're going to take this thing top to bottom here.
Oh, Nick and I talked, Mag and I, sorry.
You're good. Are you able to read these?
No, I have to get much closer to read them.
I'll point them out for you then. Let me scroll down the list here.
Okay, I'm right here, guys.
Fortunately, I wasn't reading these as they went because I'm just talking my way through this thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Truex Outdoors wants to know, bro, what was the craziest or oddest interaction you had with other humans on your trip?
I'm glad you said humans. Memomls glad you said humans because that question would have gone a different direction. Truex Outdoors.
That whole Roswell stuff.
Where? Talking about. We met up with a lot of people on this trip, and everybody's got a story. Everybody contributes something to it. We met up with the one that was most memorable to me was the geocache owner for the virtual mock opulence. I do want to hear your story after this. So unfortunately, the geocache owner who set that up, and let me tell you, that's still on the map. I've got to check for it. What he did over the course of his lifetime is he collected objects from around the town. Like when they demolished the courthouse, he took considerably concrete blocks. When, all those little pieces of town history, every single piece that you see in this garden, if you haven't seen the mock opulence virtual, it's going to blow your mind. Or actually, it's a traditional. I think it's a virtual because I didn't end up finding it. But it's still a cache worth visiting, even if you can't find it, because everything there has its own history. It's an amazing place. And unfortunately, he had terminal cancer. And I suspect that he's no longer with us. But I sincerely hope that whoever takes over that property understands the just massive amount of history it retains for the whole community, and they do something good with it. But he was one of just the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. And I was so glad to have the opportunity to meet him and what he set up there.
But one I liked that moved me to tears was the veteran.
Thank you.
And I mean that, and your editing on that, it was beautiful.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another of my top 10 favorites. The video is called Mississippi Legends. And I met up with a veteran, William Bramlett, who served in the Vietnam War. And he was out there that day at the Vietnam Veterans Wall, laying wreaths. Yeah. And the amount of respect and those kind of people make those veterans. And I'm so glad I met him. He had with him his war book, his memory book from Vietnam. And it was so important to him, not because of him, but because of all the other people, those he lost as friends along the way. And he maintains each one of their stories as homage to them. And it moved me. And so he talks over first.
Yeah, I love
That video. But I have easily 30 minutes. He let me set up the cameras. I set him up for an audio, and I set up a camera for video, and he flipped through his memory book one page at a time. And he shared with me all these stories, and I really wish I could have brought it to you. I couldn't figure out the right way to do the format. And to be honest, I couldn't narrate over the top. I can't watch that footage without getting teared up.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
But just getting to hear his story, that was, thank you. Definitely in the top 10. And again, every single one of my favorites, it was the people.
I think he said top 10 for about 30 so far.
If that may be true.
Okay. Zelia T, would you ever do this adventure again? If you do it again, would you do anything differently? That's a good question.
That's a very insightful question. Would I do this adventure again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. It was pretty amazing. Oh. We'll edit it out later. It was pretty amazing, and yes, it was a heck of an adventure. Would I do it again? Yes. Would I do anything differently? Also, yes. I would have spaced my days more. It was so hard. It was
so intense.
It was one on the geocaching podcast, I believe they equated it to running a marathon, and in my mind, it's more like running an ultra marathon. Going on a 10-day trip with me, that's a marathon. But then it keeps going
and going
for another 327 after that. So yeah, I would create more space. I'd create more admin days because I spaced an admin day every 2 weeks into my plan to give me time. At the very least, I had to do laundry. You have to stop for that. You can't do it on the road. And iChime's not going to improve the smell. It has to be done. But really, once a week would have been better at the pace I was running. So that's why I wanted to mention all those people that gave us places to stay and friends to, because we needed that. Those admin days where we stopped, or we had a streak. We geocached every day, but we didn't do 300 miles every day, thankfully.
Right.
And those days were just invaluable. And a lot of them were at the right time too, when we were just up against the wall and our goose was cooked. Then we would come in to see Vegas do in Wisconsin, and they'd give us the boost we needed to get back out there. And okay, we've got some more energy and we can go again. And so, yeah, more time. Just take the time, smell the roses, enjoy it a little bit more. Don't run at a pace that's just as intense as what we did right here.
Sherry, you gave a lot of information on each of your videos, like history and such. Good question. Where did you find all that, and how much time did that take you for each of your videos?
So that's also part of the, please forgive me for those first 30 days, because I wasn't very good at that those first 30 days. I wasn't sure the best way to communicate that, so I kind of touched on it, and there were certain places where I feel like I really missed an opportunity. The number one on that list is Boston. The history in Boston, oh my goodness, every building you turn to, everything has right back to the beginning of our country.
Right.
I didn't have the rhythm and what I needed to give that video what it needed, what it deserved. But I got better at it.
You did.
And there's a lot of things I know already because I talked about it in my library caching video. I love reading. I think it's so important to get out there and just read, just consume material, learn about the world. The internet, maybe don't believe everything you read there, but books, their publishers are checking, editors are checking, and they're going through this process so that by the time they get to you, you're getting actual accurate information that's been verified and researched. And so getting out there and picking up books, I already knew a lot of this. So I already knew the direction I wanted to go. And then from there, I was able to supplement that because I knew the right search terms. I was able to research certain things and find those exact dates I was looking for. Because I do have a hard time remembering if it was 1776 or 1777. I'm not quite there.
Wow.
But I got much better at the research, and I would do that as I was editing the videos and getting notes together. And so by the time I was ready with my cuts to start narrating, I already had the direction I wanted to take it and what I wanted to talk about. And then I just had to make sure to express that in a meaningful way that would line up with the shots that we had, because those dictated what I could talk about,
Sure.
which didn't make sense.
High Speed Mom 2012. How many earth caches did you find on your trip?
759 earth caches. You'd be amazed at how many I skipped. I didn't do park and grab earth caches for the most part, unless they brought me to a scenic location. Those were all researched in advance. Waterfalls. Every waterfall made the list.
Yeah.
Scenic view vista type things, any of the canyons, really interesting geological features. Those all made the list. The standard kind of, hey, here's an earth cache to get you an icon. I skipped past a lot of those, but I had my limits. If there was more than about 5 questions on that earth cache page, I might show up to the coordinates, get some great shots, enjoy the view, and still walk away. So potentially we could have done a lot more earth caches, but with my hard stance on no homework, everything done in the field, there was only so much level of research I was willing to do on the spot to answer those things, and if it was beyond that, I didn't. So 759, still pretty good.
Respectful.
And that's with a few deleted by owners who didn't like my answers, but that's okay.
Jim RKY. After this live cast, when will we see you again? That's a good question too.
I can't tell you the exact when, but I can tell you the where. Very soon, coming up after we get to Japan, after we have time to stay with Miss Mag and the kids, inextricable fate has moved there. He is now living in Japan.
Nice.
He's making it happen over there. And he wants to go explore the southern and western part of the country that we haven't explored before. So soon you will be seeing the western side of Japan. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to approach it as a video series, but rest assured, it's going to be a good time.
UDAC wants to know, will you keep your website up?
Yes. Ron from Mind Tip Games created the website for me, and he understood that I just couldn't manage the time to learn what I needed to make it work from there. So he helped me all along the way to make sure everything was right where it needed to be on the site. Now that I'm in a position that I can do it, he actually just turned over the keys to Kingdom to me. So I will be managing the website. It's going to be a little while till you see changes, but I will be adding a lot more to it than what we have there. There's already a lot of stuff in the background you can't see that I'm going to link some of that in this description. But that's all going to end up on the front end where the users can get to it. But the site's absolutely staying up. We're keeping that, and we're going to build on it. We're going to have all of they're already loaded. They're in the background. We already have all of the blank state maps across the country. Those county and DeLorme overlay maps that you see in every video, they're all there. Okay. So if you click right now on the links, it will bring you to the routes we've completed. We're going to have another section in there so that you'll also be able to view just those blank maps for yourself. Please take Wyoming with a grain of salt. The map ain't great, so that's not one I would use. The others are very great resources for planning those pages. This is about the 2 crazy chicks.
Oh, UDAC wants to know, just how crazy are they?
They put up with me for as long as they did and still wanted to come back time and time again. They are crazy, and they are so much fun to hang out with. If you ever have a chance to geocache with the 2 crazy chicks, you're guaranteed to have a good time.
UDAC, will Mag's family visit him in Japan?
I think you can answer this one.
Mag's family is in Japan.
They live there.
Yeah.
And so too do I intend to do so.
He's going to see him tomorrow.
I just wish so much that I could convey to Aichan that we're going to be back with the pack tomorrow. If she knew that, she wouldn't be sleeping right now. She'd be running on loops in this bed. She'd be out of her mind. So maybe it's better she doesn't know.
Say as a plug here, Mrs. Mag is amazing. That she would even consider, yeah, go travel wherever you want to go. I'm going to take the kids, they're pre-teenagers, and go to Japan. Mrs. Mag, you're my hero.
And obviously you're my hero. There's so many things I could give, but just rest assured, Miss Mag deserves every little bit of praise I can heap on her. It's amazing. Yeah. And I can't wait to see her tomorrow. Tomorrow, Mom. Tomorrow. It's really happening.
Sherry Tummelson, I hope I said that right. What video has the most likes?
So I don't know which one has the most likes because I don't pay much attention to that, but please hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. I know which one has the most views. When we went through the northeast corner of Arizona, for the DeLorme Challenge, the entire northeast corner of Arizona is the Navajo Nation. It's exempted from the DeLorme Challenge. You don't have to go there. But I wasn't going to miss that. It's an amazing place to see. There's so much there to see, and I so glad I had the opportunity. Now, not all those pages have caches, but I went to every single one of them that did, and I saw every single site that was pointed on the map, and it's a pretty good video. It's I guess you got to get out there and watch the Navajo Nation video. There's a
You
reason.
have a date?
I don't. I don't know
Sorry,
the date off the top of
sorry.
my head.
Okay.
Sorry on that one.
Ron from Mind Tip Games. I know you didn't have any videos of Colorado caching, but can you summarize your experience at all?
Okay, ready for this one? Colorado. Ai-Chun was at her worst when we were in college. So my peak experience there was I've got to get the dog through it. I've got to keep her health up. And so every decision I made in Colorado, she was the number one factor in that. We did a lot of parking grabs. We kept the heat on in the car at all times. Ai-Chun wasn't out there in the snow. It was cold. It was April in Colorado, and we'd already done the southeast corner of the state where it was lower elevations. It was all mountains all the time, all in the snow. It kind of worked out that I wasn't doing videos that time because I also just the amount of rerouting I had to do to get around closed roads and snow, and it was rough.
Tiring time.
It was a tiring time, but it was so beautiful. The mountains of Colorado in April with the snow coming down on them, those views are phenomenal. And I do regret that I couldn't showcase the state because it was one of the ones I've always loved Colorado and I wanted to. But decisions had to be made, and maybe one day, because we didn't finish that Colorado County Challenge.
County?
Not the County Challenge final, because it was hidden by Pathfinder 33, and he hit it at one of the roughest spots in the entire state to get to. It is hidden up above, I want to say 14,000 feet in a pass that's only open for about 3 to 4 months of the year. So it was never possible for us to do it. And it was definitely not even an option when we were there and Ai-Chun was in bad health.
No,
it got cut and skipped. And that also means that one day I'm coming back. And Miss Mag, she's going to love Colorado.
Yes.
So that trip is not going to be wasted because I'm going to have one target. And beside that, we're going to do what we want to do. And so it's not going to be a geocaching trip. It's going to be a trip up to go get that final. And when that happens, whenever it happens, we will be bringing that to you. It's about the bottom here. It just expanded. I guess I got to keep scrolling. There we go.
Nick, I'm so sorry, but I have to bow out.
Oh, it's time already?
It is my time. Okay. And this has been about you and Ai-Chun. And I'm glad I got to do a little bit of it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Memom. And we're getting pretty close to the closing, but I know I ran a little over. And I appreciate you guys staying with me because, like I said, we had so much we wanted to cover here. And I'm actually going to steal her seat because I think I can get Ai-Chun back on camera there. Yes. Look at that beautiful dog just sleeping. Not even realizing the amazement that she's going to be back with her pack tomorrow. Right. So from UDAC, any parking or moving violation tickets. I actually only got one ticket on this entire trip, and it was a speed trap. It was the most efficient and fastest traffic stop I've ever had. It went from 55, 45, 35 police officer, and he came up to the window. It was, hey, I'm giving you a ticket. I'll be right back. A couple minutes later, he came back. He had other quotas to meet on the road, and you know what? As far as tickets go, I was happy as could be to pay that one. The other police officers, generally, when they saw Ai-Chun, that was about it. They were pretty happy with her, and I didn't end up getting a ticket. Some of those were actually quite a few of them were pullovers that were never going to get ticketed because they were kind of giving me reasons that weren't honestly reasons why they pulled me over. The Border Patrol, of course, is they're looking for people that are hopping the border. I got pulled over quite a bit crossing over on the border between Colorado and Utah, and they were really just fishing, and I could tell they were. And there was one police officer who pulled me over for speeding, and I told him I hadn't been speeding. And he goes, no, you were speeding. I clocked you. I said, that's not possible because my cruise control was set to the exact speed limit. I just passed the sign half a mile ago, And 3 miles before that, I passed a sign that told me my speed, so I know my cruise control was set correctly. So why exactly did you pull me over, officer? That was a fairly short traffic stop on that one. For Ron from Mind Tip Games, what is going to happen to the Geomobile? That is part of the reason me mom is here. She is going to drive that all the way back to Jacksonville, Florida. So you may just be seeing that cruising around the streets of that city. Now, you may not recognize it since it'll be clean and the seats are going to be reunited, but it will be back into the town that it came from in the first place. Anime Compass, did you encounter any Karens? Surprisingly, no. No, actually, our people interactions were very good. In Los Angeles, we even knocked on an occupied bathroom door and we got invited in. So sometimes people are maybe slightly over friendly, but no, nobody was at that level, which was great. Patty Cakes, what breed is Aichan? She is a Basenji cattle herder mix. And the Basenji comes out a lot in her body style, and you can see the cattle herder more in her fur. She used to have a lot more spotting, a lot more brown, especially in that eye spot. But as she's gotten older, that white has taken over. So that's mostly what you see beside the ears now. From Dan Stafer, I'm glad you confirmed it. I'm sorry to hear it. He just completed mock opulence recently, and the owner of the property did die. And he was a great man, and he will be missed immensely from the community. And I am so grateful I had the opportunity to meet him. And even though I didn't find the geocache, I still got to include him in the video as well. So if you check out that day, and it will be one I include in the notes so you can go reference it. I mean, check it out. He really, just by watching, you're helping his memory stay on and what he did there. From Houston, TX Dave, what was the worst weather, hot or cold, you experienced? That one's super easy. We were in Kansas in April, and I kind of thought we had gotten out of winter. We had not. We ended up right in the thick of a blizzard. We got blasted by salt trucks. We got snowed out, and somehow, some way, we kept going through it. It actually turned into a really fun day and some pretty good footage too. But it was, without a doubt, just the hardest day of weather we had. We had plenty of rainy days, lots of windy days, especially in the Dakotas. But that blizzard, that hit hard. What was the final mileage total on the Geomobile for the trip? This is from Sherpa Ron. It clocked in at the end of the trip at 180,000 miles. When we began the trip, we were at 80,000 miles. It managed to put 100,000 on across the country, which was us covering an average of 300 miles a day. Oh, we had a question for me, Mom. So I'm sorry she had to go. Are you ready to vlog your trip home with the Geomobile? You may want to send her a friend request on Facebook. I don't think her videos are going to be coming anytime soon here. From Sherpa Ron, are completing counties in Alaska and Hawaii on your radar? 100%. We've actually driven all of the roads that can be drove in Alaska already in the mainland interior. So it's more than likely going to be 2 trips. The first, the order, but the first of those 2 trips will be between Juneau and Ketchikan. We do the ferry services to get to all those counties that are between all those island chains. And the other trip, about another 2 weeks as well, is going to require us flying to all the far-flung counties around the far edges of Alaska. And our friend Florida Travelers is just wrapping up his trip through Alaska. He is going to be one of only a few people to have done every county in the country. And so rest assured, I will be picking his brain in its entirety, get the best of his notes from what I have, combine them, and I'm going to try and bring you amazing Alaska footage. When that's going to happen, I can't quite tell you that, but it will be happening. We will be bringing it your way. From Sherry, do you think you will have any grief with the completion of this adventure? No, I'm very happy with it, unless I'm misunderstanding the question. It went well, and all the problems we had, we overcame. We made it work. Jedi Trash Panda, how long is the flight tomorrow? About 13 hours. It's Japan across is tough. From Azalea T, will I have to be quarantined? She will only have to go through the short inspection period, assuming everything goes well. It's a long import process. If you're bringing an animal out of country, Japan specifically, because I know, but all of them have processes. For Japan, you need to start fully 7 months out on their import process to be able to shorten that time on the quarantine. If you haven't planned at least that far ahead, your animal will be hanging out in quarantine until you've gone through the entire process. So definitely, if you're planning on going to another country with your animal, start early on the process because you're going to need all of that time. From, I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Kessia, what was the most difficult geocache you found on your adventure? There was a lot of tough ones out there. I don't know that I could point to any particular one, but there was one that I refused to give up on, and I for the life of me I can't think of the name. It's one I'll have to include in the notes later. But there was only in, I want to say, Nebraska, there was only one geocache target in the county, and it was hidden in a large bed of rocks under a welcome sign to the town. And there was a lot of places to search. No hint, and it was a micro. And there was no other options. Normally I'll walk until I find something I can get, but I had to make that work. And I spent the better part of an hour, but I found the geocache. I came up successfully. And I know for a fact that one made the clip for that day because I was so proud of it. From Florida Travelers, how is Ai-chan getting to Japan? She's going to be riding with me on the airplane. And I'm pretty excited that we're going. We actually showed up today to pick up Memom at the airport. And I always ask myself, how much does Ai-chan really understand? As soon as we pulled up at the airport, she took the position in the passenger seat and started scanning the crowds in the doorways. Like she knew we were looking for somebody to pick up. I kind of think she's done the airport trips enough now that she understands what the airport means and that somebody's going to get in the car. And that excitement she had was pretty unreal. From UDAC, why did I stop wearing my vest? So the vest and the weights that I wore it was training mostly. I knew that I needed to be able to carry Ai-chan at 40 pounds on my back whenever the situation called for it. So wearing 40 pounds worth of weights allowed me to balance for that. I was already physically in shape and I knew that I could carry 40 pounds on me at any time when the situation dictated. So we put her up on the backpack and it was easy to go. When she got sick, my entire perspective of how I was doing things changed. And by then I knew that I was able to carry her. I'd already proven that. We'd done it for all those months leading up to that point. So I decided to take it a little easier. I also needed to take things easier on myself because it was really tough on me to try and take care of her and bring her back up to health and to see her get old, because she came back, but she never came back as strong as she had been before. She's a lot slower now. She can't do nearly as much miles. We have to stop from any breaks, and that's fine. We were able to take our time and give her that and still make it work for both of us in a good way. But it also meant that I kind of need to change my perspective on how I was doing things. From Jody M, how were you able to find a vet along the way to see Ai-chan? We are Banfield members. So Banfield is nice because it's a networked veterinarian service that's all across the country. And when I change to a veterinarian's office, all they have to do is transfer the records in from one location to the next. They're very good at it. And so I was just able to plan ahead from each location, get them transferred in, get her booked, and they already had all of the information they needed every time she walked into a vet because it was all within their same system. So it really worked out for us, and that was definitely the right approach for us to be able to take care of her because it gave us the access we needed for import certifications to Japan. It gave us the right vet to go to when she got sick. It gave us vets we could check in for her medications when they were running out. And so she had the same network across the country for us. And we have one last question in the queue, and then we're going to move into our closing for this. Azalea T, are you willing to touch on what was wrong with I? I would be, but the fact of the matter is I do not know. We took her to the vet. We ran every single test we could, and everything came back healthy. She was, on paper, she was just fine. She was clearly not. The vet knew that. She wasn't moving. She wasn't eating. I mean, she hadn't eaten for a week. And so I just, we did our best. I pressured the dog a lot to pick herself back up, to get back up there. And in the middle of all that medication was the first time in months I'd broken out my mobile kitchen. Went to the store, got a couple of T-bone steaks, set them out on the grill, laid her down in front of the grill so her nose was inches away, and I made her watch me and smell me cook these T-bone steaks up. And by the time I got them all cooked up and grilled in front of her, I could see the look in her eyes, and she said, "I'll have a bite." And she had a bite, and over the next 4 hours, she ended up eating the whole steak. I pressured her. After a bite or two, she's like, I'm full. I don't want any more. No, just one more bite. Just one more bite. And then she ate the whole thing. And she had, I have been spoiling her since then, and she actually changed my diet in a pretty good way for me. Before she had gotten sick, we were eating travel rations all the time. Of course, she had her good dog food. I'd buy her the best, but only travel rations for me. After she got sick, warm meat only in her meals. So I made it a point to get us to a place around her dinner time, after her medications, the right timing, that we could get meat. So she got hamburgers and steaks. Her favorite fast food's Burger King, by the way. McDonald's, she won't touch. Tells me all I need to know about it. But she eats very well now after that. And as a result, I eat well too, because I get the veggies off her plate when she gets her steak. All right. We have just a few closing notes here, and then I'm going to wrap this thing up. All right. So you have been watching Aichan all year long on this video series. She has a travel bug dog tag, but she has geocached so much that the dog tag has worn down to bare metal. It's just a metal tag now. So I'd like you to be able to discover her. Her code is TR2F9F. That's Tango Romeo 2 Fox 9 Fox. Please go to her page and leave her a comment about how much you've enjoyed watching her over these years. And we will be getting her page fixed, and we're going to compile her stats. And that's another that we're going to put into the notes here as well as these travel bug codes for easy access. The Geomobile that you have been watching cruise these roads over 100,000 miles has a mobile magnet. That the one time I washed the car, that mobile magnet went with it. I would like you to discover that as well. And we will be retiring that. So after this trip, that code is going to be stopped. It is JZ35RA. That's Juliet Zulu 35 Romeo Alpha. And we had one travel bug coin that we took with us. It was the Cash Across America coin, which was sent to us by Lori Bird and Z Steve, who managed the series. And it is the crown jewel of my trackable collection. It's my favorite coin. So I carried it with me all this time. And while I'd love to show it to you, had to get packed. But feel free to discover that coin as well, because there is no coin in my collection that means more to me than that one. And that is CAZTF3. That's Charlie Alpha Zulu Tango Fox 3. We have had the great opportunity to be featured on several geocaching podcasts, and especially in recent days. We also have some more that are going to be publishing. As those ones come out, I will add the links, but those links are all in the description. Geocache Podcast, Geocache Talk, Podcaster Show, and Treasures of Our Town, which will be coming out on July 8th with the Geocaching Vlogger. When I first began this series, I'm not really a social media consumer, but I can't have a YouTube series without seeing what other people do. So he was one of my very first geocaching, or actually YouTubers at all, that I subscribed to and kind of saw what he did. And he was one of my very first role models of how to take a geocaching channel and orient it. And I'm still learning, by all means. So I was very excited to be able to interview with him for that podcast, and I'm very excited to have that one be released. We'll also have the Geocache Adventures podcast coming up in the near future as well. That one's going to be releasing on July 17th. And a big shout out there to the Geocaching podcast, because they featured me twice, once at the beginning and once at the end. And they asked the right questions at the right time. Very insightful on the show. And it was such an honor. But each one of these, it's been such an honor to be able to talk to them. We have a theme that we have discovered along the way of this journey. And I've tried to hit on it with each of the podcasts that I've interviewed for. I've tried to talk about it in other live sessions. And I want to make sure that I hit on it now, because it is so important to me. When we went out to these great locations, and when I'm not talking about the natural ones, that's other work. I'm talking about the ones that are man-made. When we went out to Gilby, North Dakota, and we found all those amazing geocaches, Mock Opulence with that very memorable memorial he set up to the entire history of the town, Lake and Inland, so many other places that we've gone and we've seen these amazing things. They boil down to the work of one person with a vision, a dream, a goal, something they want to achieve, something they want to do, they want to bring to the community. Sometimes they have a team, they have people that support them, like I have. And sometimes they decide that I'm going to do this. Even when all the obstacles are against me, this is my vision. I'm going to bring it to it. And all of these things are because one person was willing to take the risk on their dream and do it. And I want each of you to know out there watching, you are capable of achieving amazing things. Your only true limitation is your mind. It's what you tell yourself you can't do. So don't listen to that little voice that says, I can't do it. I'm not capable. I'm not good enough. I don't have the skill. You can do whatever it is you set out to achieve if you're willing to work for it and you're willing to bring it. And you can really achieve amazing things. And I want each of you to know that because I've seen it so many times. And if you watch this video series, you will see that through there too, so many times. Thank you guys all for joining us tonight. I know we ran well over an hour, and I kind of knew all along because I just had so much I want to discuss with you. It has been an amazing journey across the country, and I am so humbled that there are already 1,000 people within our first year who subscribed and wanted to follow along with us and support our journey. And I'm glad that I could bring you this history of the United States and show you so many of these amazing places and great geocaches, and most of all for me, show you this amazing dog. It has been my absolute pleasure to bring this series to you. And we will be taking a break, but we are not done. We are now going to be setting our sights around the world. And when we travel around the world now, we're going to be bringing you our journeys, whether it's in Japan, whether it's in other parts of Asia, coming back to Alaska. So by all means, if you haven't already subscribed, please go hit that subscribe button because it is more important now than ever because our updates will not be coming every day, but I want you to be able to catch them when they come out. And I can't wait to whatever adventure we bring your way next. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you out on the trails.